Hello, welcome everybody to the Sports Counterpoint Show, another edition. Excited to be here with my guys with Coop and Brian. What's up with it?
Going on.
Man, we back at it. It's April the 28th, 2026. We are talking NFL draft as well as NBA playoffs. Run a couple of weekly segments and we're about to here. So let's do it, man. Talking about the draft, officially done. Draft is over. All the rounds. People are signing on undrafted free agents. Kind of just give me your thoughts on kind of how the draft shook out. Where picks you thought might have gone. Where they ended up. Just kind of your thoughts, and then we'll get to our teams after that.
Yeah, Brian, what's your overall thoughts on the draft?
I think there's a lot of movement. Teams trading down was a big theme. So lots of little trades that were going on throughout the draft made things interesting. Also made things kind of hard to predict. A lot of people taking big swings. So there wasn't a lot of top end talent. And so what I think teams decided to do is if they could trade down, they traded down, and if not, they took flyers on upside picks. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about it when we talk about the Vikings, but that's pretty much what they did and what I saw happen a lot of the time. I don't think there's much certainty to be gained in this pick. I mean, all the way from Mendoza all the way through. I don't think there's anybody who can say with any level of certainty that anyone's going to be great. Anyone who does, I think that's probably pipe dreams. But yeah, I mean that's kind of my thoughts on it. Is that it was a little bit unpredictable, a lot of movement, a lot of teams trading around to move up, move down. It's kind of interesting to watch some other people get fleeced, but yeah, that's where it's at.
So people get fleeced.
Hey, I'm who got fleeced.
Yeah. Look, I didn't watch. I'll tell you, this is the sorriest draft probably since 2012. I mean, it was just bad. All I heard after, I'm on social media or listening to all these people. All you heard was that everybody reached and this person reached for that, reached for that. Well, it's a bad draft. So you got guys drafted in rounds that they shouldn't be drafted. So if you didn't get a David Bailey, if you didn't get Arvell Reese, Mansour Delane, Sonny Styles, Francis Moaga, Caleb Downs, or Ruben Bain, then you reached because those only players that people generally think can be multi-time Pro Bowlers or very impactful players on their team. Everybody else is a question mark. There was no consensus, which is what I hate when people say they didn't take the consensus guy. There wasn't a consensus in any position on any person. They weren't even consistent on a quarterback. Mel Kiper had Fernando Mendoza the best quarterback. Todd McShay had Ty Simpson as the best quarterback. So there was no consensus on anybody. It's a straight crapshoot. If you get a player out this draft, then congratulations. But the talent we all know is still in college football right now. And you got these 25-year-old guys coming out for the draft, 24, 25. Some guy went to four schools. One guy started playing college in 2020. He got drafted. You had a bunch of tight ends. You had like nine tight ends drafted in the third round. And the reason why a lot of these guys weren't even productive because there weren't any skill position players worthy enough for teams to even take because this wasn't a good draft. And if you would have told all these NFL teams they could go home after the fourth round, they would have went because I just like Brian said, you're taking a flyer on a lot of guys and just hoping it pans out, and that's pretty much what everybody did. So I'm not banging any team for anything, and draft grades are bogus. My last point because people give high draft grades to people who drafted to teams that drafted players they thought they were going to get. So it makes them look smart and like, okay, this team gets an A because bad teams draft for, a lot of they need a lot of players. They draft for quantity, where teams like Kansas City and the Rams, they draft for strictly specific needs. And the teams who always get high draft grades are always picking high in the draft. You should get a high draft grade. You got a bunch of picks and you're picking the top of the draft, whereas opposed to teams picking in the 20. So I don't really have any overall thoughts about the draft. It's just I hope we all got players that'll be productive for us. And if we don't, let's try again next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point of a draft, though, right? Like everybody you take is you're hoping it works, scheme fit, on your team, that they fit in on in the locker room, et cetera. So I don't, every year it's like that. There's guys who we think are going to be, these are guys who are can't miss. Some of them hit, some of them don't. It kind of is what it is, and there's a lot more to it than just picking the guys, right? You got to fit in the scheme, you got to have coaching, you got to have all those other things line up, and also go to a city that works, etc. So we'll see what happens. But give me your thoughts on what your teams did. Start with you, Coop.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I don't listen to media people. People are blaming John Lynch for the draft. And for those who actually know how the 49ers work, John Lynch has absolutely no say-so in the draft. Kyle Shanahan has complete control over the roster. Nobody gets picked without him signing off on that pick. And John Lynch has nothing to do with that. He's there to manage Kyle, who can be a handful. Take that however you want. So as far as the 49ers draft, the first pick they had was in the second round. They got essentially Jawan Jennings' replacement, but just much faster. This guy runs a 4.3. He loves to block. I don't know if you know anything about Kyle Shanahan, but he's not going to play you if you don't block. And this guy did a lot of blocking at Mississippi, and he's a 6'3", 200 and some pound receiver, pretty productive to average 15 yards a catch. But he's essentially Jawan Jennings' replacement. And like I said last week, Kyle values skill position players and touchdowns over offensive linemen. But the rest of the picks I really do not care about, but one is a head scratcher to me, and that's the guy they got in the third round, the running back from Indiana. And I hate when Kyle Shanahan does this. He acts what bad teams do is draft quarterbacks from winning programs, thinking that the quarterback is the reason that they were winning when it's really the roster and the coaching and the scheme around him why they were winning. Well, Kyle does that with running backs. He drafts running backs from national championship teams. And if you look at the highlights of this guy, he had holes that all of us could have ran through. He's slow, he's short, he's 5'8", and he can't catch. I don't know why they drafted this guy in the third round. He's not going to help us at all. That's the only question mark pick, that I had. He did that with Trey Sermon with Ohio State, won national championship there. He did that with the running back for LSU, Tyron Price or somebody. And he did it for somebody else who won a national championship. He likes getting these running backs from the national championship teams, and they're all bums. So I don't know. But other than that, I don't really care about the rest of the draft picks. None of these guys, I don't think, are going to help us this year anyway. But B, what you think about what the Vikings did?
Yeah, I mean, look, most draft critics had the Vikings and the 49ers pretty much in the same place, neither of which was a good draft. And the Vikings obviously started off in with high question because they took Caleb Banks in the first round. And so Caleb Banks was absolutely phenomenal 2 seasons ago, but only played 3 games in the season last year because of a foot issue that kept him out for most of the season, and he had to have surgery right after his pro day. It's a high upside pick because he had phenomenal talent. He was actually he was a prospect for like top 5, top 7 pick before all the injuries. The thing about foot injuries is they linger. But the Vikings have been known for doing these types of high upside picks for as long as they've been around. That's how they got Randy Moss. That's how they got Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, when he came out of the draft, was thought by no one to be anything more than a slot receiver. He was a slot receiver in LSU. He was literally like the third guy on that team. He panned out all right. So they've always taken big swings and whenever they do that. Some of them pan out, a lot of them don't. And this is another one. Do I fault him for it? Yeah, I really do think we should have taken the safety because it's a clear need for us. But if they see something in Caleb Banks, then we're going to go with that. The biggest problem with the Vikings is that I don't know who was leading it. And you could see that by how the draft picks went. It sounds like everyone got a turn to make a pick because they don't have a GM. Because they're using kind of an interim guy who was the associate GM before after they fired the old GM. It seemed like they were like, okay, you get the first round and you get the second round and you get the third round, and they're like, oh, what I want to do is kind of make a name for themselves. I mean, they took 2 defensive tackles in the first 3 rounds, in the first 3 picks. That's a lot of defensive tackles, and they didn't take the first safety until the third round, where they had 4 picks, but he was their 5th pick overall. When it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. I'm not incredibly optimistic, but I'm also not all that worried about it because, like, you know, the team hasn't been made or broken by draft picks for quite some time. If you look at what happened with the last GM, apparently all of our picks were just horrible, and most of them are out of the league since he came into the team. It's been all right. So would it be great to find some gold amongst the picks? Yes. Do I think we did? I don't know.
Yet to be seen.
I
Yeah.
mean, you don't have a GM, so I mean, I don't know why people are bashing them. They don't have a GM. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
Got to draft somebody. So I
There
don't
you go.
know.
Yeah. Well, they're bashing them because they should have a GM. Like, there's nobody who's available today that wasn't available 3 months ago when they fired
Big
their
facts.
GM. What
Big
the
facts.
heck are they waiting for? You don't go into a draft, a big off season where you're trying to make big moves to try and take yourselves from out of contention to
Sure.
not to division champion contender without a
Oh,
GM. And this is the same thing we talk about all the time. Where I'm like, look, I understand why they got rid of the last guy. But if you can't figure out, you don't have a strategy or an approach or a philosophy on how you're going to replace them, you need to do that first. And the Vikings are kind of sitting here in limbo, and you can't waste a full draft on doing that. But if they made any mistake, it was going into it without a draft, without a strategy, without a GM, and without a vision for what they were trying to accomplish over the next couple of years. Because the guy who's certainly not going to be the GM, which was the associate GM, and all the rest of these folks who were making picks, they don't have a 5-year vision because they know full
yeah.
well
They're not
they're
gonna be
not
there.
going to be there
Right,
in
Magic
5 years.
Johnson. I'm not gonna be
right,
there.
right,
Yeah.
right. Hey, Glenn, go ahead and tell me how you feel about the Reds, because I want to ask Brian a question afterwards.
What? Well, that was just weird to even say. I feel like I'm at the source of words too. Yeah, so I'm the team that we picking high in the draft, and that other team, I just got love for all those teams out there. You know what I mean? I don't, I want love for everybody. Um, I mean, I'm cool with it. I think, we are one of those teams
You
that's
certainly
obviously
had a lot of picks. I mean,
had a lot
gosh,
of
Yeah,
picks. I
there
like
was a lot going on.
and I like what I mean, if you look at just looking at the players, you think about the Raiders roster, and I just say they got a QB, they got a safety, they got
Multiple.
multiple safeties, multiple corners, wide receiver, edge rusher, defensive tackle. And you're like, yeah, all a center, all things you guys could use. And then so I don't watch a ton of college ball, so a lot of my stuff now is watching highlights. I do this every draft, watching highlights. The key with highlights is they're the highlights, so you're seeing the best plays of whatever player. But I mean, from what I've seen, obviously, and everybody's hyped, it's cool to just get an influx of talent. Hopefully, we'll see if some of these guys can pan out. I mean, if you can get, like you guys are saying in the draft, it's always a crapshoot. But if you can get contributors, even it'd be great to get starters and all pros and pro bowlers. But if you can get guys that continually contribute and produce something, that's a big deal. So I think the interesting thing to me, I like the concept, but we'll see how it works. At this point, the Raiders would have a linebacking core that are best friends and a safety core that are best friends if all those guys start, the two safeties from Arizona. So that's interesting. Drafted the running back from Arkansas, Mike Washington Jr. I'm hearing good stuff about him. I think everybody's talking about, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, especially on the Raiders side, are talking about Jermod McCoy, um, just because he had, great tape and he could be, he was a really high prospect before, but he has like a, pretty bad knee injury, and there's no telling what'll happen. If it works out, it could be a steal. If it doesn't, fourth round pick, you see what happens. But I mean, I like the concept of them going for need and attacking some needs, and we'll just see if the guys produce. But I think Mendoza's obviously the big deal. I will say, dude is like, it's as if like their parents or whoever around was prepping them for to be in the media since they were little. Like him and his brother are just like, it's almost like jokingly like industry plant type good. Like they're too good at it. Just seeing how they talk and how every question he answered was like the exact right answer. Coming into the building, he almost stepped on the shield but caught himself. You're not supposed to do like just the things he said and how he looked. I'm like, damn. So I think a lot of it for me, we talk about the players, but I also think about the business aspect. Coop, we're talking about going to that Raider Niner game, and all my Niner people, all my Raider people are talking about going, and I hope they keep it here. I know the Niners will make a bunch, but the Niners having a game in Mexico. If you're going to put a game in Mexico,
Oh
49ers and
man,
Raiders with the
man,
new
that'll be crazy.
quarterback named Mendoza, who may I doubt he's playing at that point. We'll see, but it's
You mean
December,
doubt?
so
He should be
who
starting
knows?
week one.
No,
Week
no,
one, he should be starting.
no, he won't.
Oh,
Um, he won't. But the um, the concept, Mendoza being out there and talking to the media in Mexico, doing all the interviews and all that. I don't know. It just seems like the checks write themselves. So I'm hoping it's here because we'll act a fool, but we'll see. But I'm
Yeah.
excited to see.
The one area that I had a question was you guys didn't take a wide receiver until like the 6th round, and it's a glaring weakness. The best wide receiver on your team that I can see, and you know your players better, is the guy that you guys just got from the Vikings, and Jalen Naylor, who I actually think is pretty solid. But there's nobody really there, and you're putting all this into Fernando Mendoza, and you brought in Kirk Cousins to both train him and also throw. And just I don't is is that weird to not have any weapons like that, or
I think it's going
anyone
to depend
that
on the
I
scheme, though. I
guess
think it's going to depend on scheme because
you can have them run the greatest routes in the world and all, but if they're not
scheme means nothing.
players, they're not players.
Scheme means nothing if you don't have players. It means absolutely
dude,
nothing. You gotta have players.
I think they
Have
do.
them.
We'll see. Also, again, this is still part the very beginning of the rebuild. So I think you
Yeah.
still got Brock Bowers, which is going to be.
Yeah.
Let's not forget about Brock. That's your receiving
No,
threat.
that's tight end, but they need some wide receivers.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's yet to be seen, right? Because I think you got some young guys that are gonna have to develop. I think Trey Tucker is a solid receiver. I'm not saying he's going to be a great, but again,
Yeah,
I base it on
Trey,
the
Jalen,
scheme.
or
Yeah, I base it off the scheme, and I say that because you think about these Niner years, right? I just look at that. Kittle was the man, and then you had Debo, looked good and popped some. He was drafted and he turned out good. Beyond that, I mean, the Niners have been killing for years, right? But it's not like nobody's like clamoring for their receivers, and most of them guys try and leave or quit anyway. So I look at it that way. But I don't know that
yeah,
depend on
I
the
wasn't
scheme.
expecting star power, but Jalen was the 3rd or 4th guy on our team. Trey Tucker would be the 3rd guy on most teams. I don't know. It just seems
Yeah,
it just seems like they had an opportunity with that many picks. They had an opportunity to take a shot on somebody earlier on, and they
Well,
didn't.
I'm going to defend the Raiders on this one because Bill Walsh said you build your team inside out. The wide receiver is pretty much the last piece once you have your team built. They're like the icing on the cake. So if they really, and this isn't the draft. I mean, you've said this
But
is not really a
Jason,
draft
they
to
ain't
get a
gonna
top
win.
receiver.
They're
That's true. They're
not,
not going to.
and
Right,
they
but I
just got a
wouldn't.
quarterback. Give them
Right, but
somebody to throw to.
why would you take a flyer on the receiver in this draft? I mean, they're just not
yeah, that
that
sounds
good.
weird too.
I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, you have to build this team. We don't even know if the quarterback's going to work. You don't even know the coach is going to work. Remember, 2 years ago, nobody was trying to hire this guy. He wasn't Ben Johnson, and now he won the Super Bowl. And now he's hired, so you don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. So I think the Raiders not drafting a wide receiver is not really a big deal. You kind of want to see some competence going into the year. So I kind of defend that. Now next year, I probably
Yeah,
would
I
say
know.
something, but this year I wouldn't worry about it.
And I would see when you're looking because Mendoza, I don't think he's not going to start this year. If he does, it's because things
Oh,
went
he's
super
got to
bad
start.
Towards the end of the season, it's because you guys are
or
out
out
of
or
it.
less, out or in.
Oh, he has to
You know what I mean?
start. You
So
can't say all that stuff about him. He has to start week one. I don't want to hear it. He has to start week
Oh,
one.
there's
Yeah,
there's
no,
there's
his
no.
zero
process is.
chance he starts week 1.
Yeah, he won't start week 1.
Oh,
He would have to have the
oh
most
man.
amazing camp ever in the history of the world. He'll be, I think,
Oh, if he
Spytech and
can't beat
everything.
out Kirk Cousins, that's bad. I'm sorry. That's just bad. We'll see. I think he starts
Kirk,
week
Kirk
one.
Cousins is the highest paid quarterback in history. Kirk
He also
Cousins
played with Clint Kubiak.
has
Yeah, he played with
you know
Clint Kubiak too, and had two very serious seasons with the Vikings.
yeah. I don't
So I
know.
think
Kirk
that's
Cousins is
forgotten.
not like I'm not trying to advocate for him. He drove me crazy, but he's not a pushover. There's a whole lot of
Not
quarterbacks in starting positions that are going to
Shanahan
not
wanted
saying.
probably
wanted
not
Kirk
good.
Cousins bad too.
And so
Who
did
did?
Kyle Shanahan.
Sean McVay. So did Sean
Yeah,
McVay, but they wanted him to be a backup. They didn't want him starting. That's the thing. They wanted him
I
to be
think
a
y'all were gonna
backup.
start him,
But
but I think
I think he's a great veteran mentor.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I think so too.
I have no
Yeah, but
problem
we'll
with
And
see.
one and
what the Raiders are doing.
yeah,
Just based off
yeah.
there's a plan in place. Clearly, they're following the plan. You're getting players that go with the plan. You got coaches. You got I mean, I'm rocking with it. I think at least I could see the vision. Whether it works or not, nobody knows what's going to happen. You
Find out.
put the vision in, you rock with it. If it works, at least I can see something. It's not, I'm not feeling like there's no plan in place. At least I could see what they're doing. I got no worries about it. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah. I hear you. B, I want to
Yeah.
ask you a question. I got some thoughts just overall for some other teams, just a little tidbit here and there. For instance, like the Chargers, they drafted their 8 picks, 4 of them were offensive linemen. The Bears are clearly an offensive team, no more of that defensive stuff. That's done. The Rams got killed in their draft. They got killed in their draft, and I think they did very well because they're in win now mode. They got a receiving tight end, the receiver from Miami. I think the one draft pick that just I'm actually happy they did it was when the Rams drafted Ty Simpson the third round. I laughed so hard and was ecstatic, and then they followed that up with the Cardinals drafting Carson Beck. So these are 2 quarterbacks who are not going to be any good that the 49ers are going to face in the future. And I'm extremely happy about. Is there anything that any other team did that caught your eye that something
Well,
happened?
let's be clear. Ty Simpson was not drafted in the third round. He was drafted in the first round. And that's why
Yeah,
everyone's
right.
on their job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the Ty Simpson. I think the most baffling pick was obviously Ty Simpson instead of Malachi Lemon, because the Rams are super close to being extremely good, and they are in
Hmm.
win now mode, and they are there
Right.
for. They are trying to make sure that Stafford has one or two, another run or two in him, and so drafting a project guy who I read the stuff about him. I didn't watch a lot of Alabama football
Sure.
last season, but so I read the stuff about him, and it's that he could make a decent throw, but he kept on getting benched because everybody else thought that another guy was younger and more talented than him. So I'm not sure I understand how you go, with a win now draft and take this guy who is what 2 years out probably. You're not going to bench Stafford after having one of the greatest seasons a quarterback has had in the last decade, this season, period. And if he says he wants to play another season after that, maybe he's told him that this is his last
Hmm.
year, which I doubt it. But anyways, the most baffling thing was using a first round pick on a player that they probably could have gotten in the second,
Oh yeah.
or
Or the fourth. But
or
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Or just not taking somebody that could contribute to the team that's so close to being very
Yeah.
good. Right. That was the most baffling thing.
Yeah, I almost cried laughing when they got, and then the Carson Beck, quarterback of Miami, who guys, I don't really
Yeah. You
care for
watched.
too much. He might start for Arizona because Jacoby Brissett in Arizona is in the contract little dispute thing right now. So, yeah, I'm kind of liking our chances in the division this year, but just want to know some thoughts.
Y'all always
Glenn, do
got a
you have any?
chance. Um,
You guys heard the whole story about what happened to the Steelers, right?
no.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, go ahead, talk about it.
no, I actually don't know I know the story because I watched it, but basically
So,
a whole
uh,
bunch of the guys that are in the Steelers front office came from Dallas. So the
right.
Dallas team decided that they wanted to kind of mess with them a little bit and also give themselves an opportunity for a trade. So they call text. I understand it. They're folks over. They're like, "Hey, we're not interested in offensive players. Like, who are y'all interested in?" Pittsburgh gives them who they wanted. Dallas turns around, calls a division rival in Philadelphia, or in
Hmm.
our conference rival in Philadelphia, and says, "Hey, Pittsburgh's about to take your player unless
Hmm.
you trade for us, give us 2 fourth round picks and your and swap down, and then you could go get the guy." And that's exactly what they do. And
Yeah.
so Dallas talking to people that they thought were friends, or actually I should say
Uh,
Pittsburgh talking to people that they
can't
thought
do
were
that.
friends in Dallas, ended up losing the player that they wanted because Dallas turned around and turned that into an opportunity to get a trade. That
Yeah,
was
they
some
dined him
slick,
out.
slick.
Pittsburgh talked. They lost their way.
Yep.
Pittsburgh just talked too much. That
Yeah.
organization is just torpedoed down, man.
That's
Yeah.
tough. Yikes.
Yeah,
Any
there's some friends that aren't friends no more after that.
Right. Yeah. And Makai Lemon, I mean, AJ Brown is gone. They got some receiver that starts with a D, and now they got Makai Lemon. AJ Brown is just a matter of time. It's going to be after June 1st. He's gone. I don't think they're going to keep him. They keep acquiring wide receivers.
Mhm.
I think he's out of there.
word? Any other picks like any? I know we kind of went through them all, but anybody else go anywhere that you think is going to be a really good fit?
Caleb Downs with Dallas. That's a good pick for him. Caleb Downs is a really good player. He actually was, I think, Alabama, and he transferred as soon as Nick Saban retired, which is smart of him. He went to Ohio State, and he's a really good player. I expect him to be very productive. Dallas needs a little bit more on defense, but Caleb Downs is sure going to help because he's really smart. Another pick, the Indianapolis Colts drafted a linebacker who's really good. I keep forgetting his name, but he's a good player. The Colts
C.J.
usually
Allen.
draft, yes, yeah, the Colts usually draft linebackers pretty well, so that caught my eye. I never believed that the Rams would take Makai Lemon. Um, I didn't know they Ty Simpson on their radar, but I'm actually surprised that Makai Lemon is actually with Philadelphia. I'm not sure how he would do there with playing with a quarterback like Hurts, so that was a kind of a shocking thing to me. But Brian, any other? Oh, and actually Kansas City, I had them taking the corner from LSU because they needed somebody to replace Trent McDuffie. And I think Kansas City is still going to be sneaky good this year. Brian, any picks?
The only other one was Jeremiah Love. Tyler Algieri. I've been on him since he was got drafted in Atlanta. And as a rookie, the dude rushed for over 1,000 yards without ever being the starter, and looked
It's crazy.
just very, very, very good. And then they go and immediately draft Bijan Robinson because Bijan Robinson is transformational, and they had to do
Yeah.
it. And Bijan Robinson
Mm,
has been transformational. Tyler Gary played behind him for a year, ultimately was the odd guy out because Bijan is Bijan. Then he goes to be the guy in Arizona. They're like, look, James Conner, he's often hurt. He's very good when he's not. You're gonna be that guy. And they literally kind of promised him a big role in order to recruit him to go to Arizona. And then immediately go and draft Jeremiah Love. And so it did not take a second for somebody who is legitimately a very, very good running back who has now sat behind Bijan Robinson and soon Jeremiah Love. Not because he has done something wrong, only because of bad opportunities. So that was the other one that was kind of interesting to me that they,
mm,
a lot of people thought Jeremiah Love was the best player in the draft. He wasn't ever going to be the top draft
yeah,
pick. And
yeah,
so, you kind of understand it when you could get a transformational player, you draft the best player available in some instances. But man, I feel bad for Tyler Gary because that's a dude who looked really good his rookie year, and
yeah,
has done nothing but play well, stay healthy, and do what he was asked, and he just kind of keeps on getting unlucky.
yeah.
Yeah.
One
So
thing that caught my eye, real quick, Glenn, the backup to Jeremiah Love in Notre Dame got drafted, I believe, at the back end of the first round. I think he was the last pick of the draft by Seattle. He was actually a good player. He's not as good as Jeremiah Love, but he's actually a good player. So the two starting running backs, the two running backs for Notre Dame, both got drafted in the first round, which is kind of crazy. So we'll see how that
that's
shakes
serious.
out.
Yeah.
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 Definitely. Be interesting. We're getting closer to the season. We're still a ways away. Season doesn't start till I think September 9th or 10th. With the Niners actually, y'all playing on a Wednesday or something crazy. So
Five guys will be hurt. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
if they're not already. So yeah. So that's unless you guys got anything else, that's kind of the draft rundown. Congrats to all those guys that got picked. We'll see. Now's your time to work. So look forward to seeing what pans out and what happens. NBA wise, man, I've actually been some good games. Every game I've watched is that damn near today. The San Antonio Blazers game was not, but everything else damn near was pretty good. So let's run it down, man, and get your thoughts. So I'm gonna just run down the
76ers, the 76ers, shined a little bit tonight over Boston.
came
A
back,
lot of
yeah,
a lot of
getting
people
close.
expected them to be left for dead.
Yep. Yeah, we're so actually to your point, let's start on the East. So starting, let's just run it down with the Pistons and Magic, which we've had some conversations about that. Interesting. Orlando's up 3-1 on the eighth seed on the one seed. So kind of how do we get here? I know Coop, you had some thoughts you were clowning, so you start on that.
Yeah, look, the Magic is not a good team, and the only reason I picked the Pistons is because I thought that they would, give their maximum effort every single game. It's the first time they've been in the playoffs forever, and it seems like it really doesn't matter because they only got one guy that can actually score. I always thought the Pistons were frauds. I would never have them going past the second round. Kind of like the Knicks, I think they're frauds too. But to see them play against the Magic's pretty much owned them this series. They're up 3-1. Orlando's going to win this series, and the Pistons are going to be a one seed and out. Um, I mean, Magic is they're just not a good team. Orlando is really not a good team, but they're playing against a Pistons team that's I would say I guess even worse. And you can rack up when people say, well, how do you become the one seed? Well, you can rack up a lot of wins in the regular season just by playing harder than everybody, because not everybody plays hard in the regular season. And that's what the Pistons did. Tom Thibodeau's teams have done that year in, year out. Mike Brown's teams have done that a lot. Usually a lot of young guys want to prove themselves. They take every game seriously, but the playoffs is a different beast, and a lot of young guys just don't come through. And it looks like that's what's happening with the Pistons. I don't know if you see it the same way, Brian.
Well, here's what I'll say. Vegas disagrees. Vegas still has them winning the series.
Hmm.
Vegas still has them as 11-point favorites in tomorrow's game, and Vegas still
Hmm.
gives them a 7% chance of winning the entire championship. Meanwhile, the Lakers, who are up 3-1, only have a 0.5% of a chance to win according to Vegas. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, in watching that matchup, the Jalen Duren matchup, who is kind of a super kind of a super all-star, borderline all-star player for them all season, and he is just getting manhandled. He is getting absolutely destroyed by Orlando's front line, which is kind of good for the Lakers because there's a lot of talk that when he becomes a free agent, which he will become at the end of the season, they might get him on the cheap. Um, but anyways, watching that matchup has kind of been disappointing. I agree with you. I do think Orlando finds a way to win one game in the next few, but at the same time, it's interesting how bullish I would say Vegas is on this because it's not like they said they dropped their chances of winning the championship down into zero point 0.5 like the Lakers,
Right.
leaving them with a relatively substantial percentage with 7%, even though they haven't looked good.
Yeah, I think Desmond Bain is one of them players that I'm definitely a fan of on that Orlando team. He's balling in Memphis and kind of just like a looks like just a professional, and he's
Yeah,
showing up really big for Orlando right now. All right, so then you got the Cavaliers and Raptors. I'm just going down the brackets as they're currently constructed.
yeah.
Um, that series is tied 2-2.
Yeah, I got a lot of text messages from people who wanted to talk about how bad Brandon Ingram would played in that first game. He's been pretty darn good since. He's averaging 20, almost 22 points a game on the series, shooting 48%. And it took him a moment, but he's played pretty well. Donovan Mitchell on the other side is playing lights out. And so, this has been kind of an interesting series. I don't think anybody expects much from either of these two teams, but the 5 seed is sticking with the 4 seed Cavaliers and making a run at it. And, so be it. I do think Cleveland ultimately wins this series just because they have more players and players like Donovan Mitchell who can step up and do big things in big moments. But it won't be because the Raptors laid down. And I don't think there's any fault in being a 5 seed losing to a 4 seed in a
Yes,
hard
sir.
fought matchup that goes, 6, 7 games, which is what it's going to do.
Definitely. Cool. Any
Yeah.
thoughts?
I pretty much feel the same way. Cleveland's, they've been inconsistent in the second half of the season, so to be tied 2-2 with the Raptors is not a shock. I do think they're going to find a way to win, but I don't really expect much from them. As far as I don't expect much from them, meaning I don't consider them really a championship contender, and you can't be when you have James Harden on your team. So it's just what it is. There's a ceiling to this team.
All right, there it is. Knicks Hawks. Knicks lead 3-2. Came back and won the game today. So, any thoughts on that series?
Yeah, if you want
Yeah.
to watch
Go
this,
ahead.
if you want to
Go
watch
ahead.
this series, watch it for one reason and one reason only. Jalen Johnson is really good, and he's very good at basketball, and he's worth watching. I mean, he's leading the team in all three categories: scoring, rebounding, assists. I do think the Knicks ultimately find a way because, again, Atlanta's their leader in all things is one player, and you can find a way to isolate one player for one game and get from a 3-2 lead in the series to winning the series. but it's not because Atlanta didn't show out at least a little bit, because they were really not supposed to be a very good team, and here they are, showing some fight.
Yeah, betting this series has been absolutely profitable, including today. But the Knicks are the better team. Um, the Hawks, I mean, they're fighting. Ultimately, I think the Knicks will win, not because I think they're a great team, but because they just have a little bit more talent than the Hawks do. But the Hawks have been fighting, but the Knicks ultimately should win the next game, Game 6, and move on to
Have you
lose.
guys seen this meme that's kind of going around IG or whatever you want to call it, where they're talking about how you could have an all Jalen team that could win the
Hella
NBA Finals
Jays.
because you have Jalen Johnson, Jalen Duran,
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson, so on and so forth. There's a bunch of them, and they're all pretty talented. They even had a bench of guys named Jalen. I guess it's the name
Yep.
right now.
Yeah, it's interesting that I don't know if you said this too, but they can almost trace all of this back to Jalen Rose because
Right.
he was one of the
There-
first prominent Jalen's, and there wasn't really nobody. You never really heard that name
There was
before then, and I think his mom made it up by combining two names, was what she said, and so it's pretty funny to see that it
well,
really exploded after that.
well, in all honesty, I think it just exploded 'cause I actually went to high school with a guy named Jalen while the Fab Five was at
Oh
Michigan.
yeah,
So
yeah. If you had in high school, it's
yeah,
way before that. Then
yeah. You
way,
hella fun.
so never mind. I take all that back.
You walked
Yeah,
right
he
into
did.
that.
Right,
That was an
right.
easy oop. All right,
That's
and then you
funny.
mentioned this before the Celtics and Sixers. So, what's your thoughts on that would be?
Well, look, I didn't know Joel Embiid was even playing in the series. Like, he's been always hurt for so long. He showed up tonight
Yeah,
with 33 points.
that's big.
Maxi. Yeah, I mean, Boston's going to win this because Boston's probably the best team in the East when it all comes down, when all shakes itself out. But the
Yeah,
76ers were supposed to be left for dead. They have some players showing up here and there, and it's a much better series for entertainment value
yeah.
than expected it to be, right? Like, I personally thought that the Celtics would make quick work of them, and get rested, and here they are, having some dogfight games like they did tonight. And they didn't lose by 3 or 4 points; they lost by almost 20.
Smoked.
Yeah, I've been watching the Boston Celtics the last few years in the playoffs, and they have games like this in the series all the time. Then they always come back and win the next game by like 15 points. They ebb and flow like that. I don't know why, but they just do. Seems like they always end up playing Philadelphia at least some point in the playoffs as well. So I got Boston winning the next game. It won't go seven, and they'll win by double digits.
Fair enough. So on the West side, OKC
Hey,
sweeps
yay!
this. Okay, OKC sweeps the Suns. Any thoughts on that series?
No, it was
I,
exactly what we expected it to be.
Pretty much.
yeah,
Pretty
I
much.
actually watched the last game. Phoenix was like down 20-25 in that game. They actually battled back. The crowd
Yeah,
got
they did.
into it, but ultimately the Thunder is just a better team, and that's one of the reasons why the Lakers have a .5 chance to win the championship because they're going to get swept by Oklahoma City in the next round.
Fair. Well, sliding straight to Lakers Rockets. Lakers are up 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, look, we knew there was going to be a letdown game. We almost could be certain it would have, after the first three, winning the first three, it was going to be that the last game. There was no universe in which the Lakers go and get a sweep. I do think that they can find a way to win this game. They are favored, I think, by 4.5 points. I think you'll get one of those kind of vintage efforts by LeBron, because LeBron's old, and he knows that he needs to get some damn rest, and so he's going to do what it takes to try and get them across the hump. It's also a home game, and so I would fully expect that they're able to close this series out. Um, yeah,
I love sport because old LeBron is the same age as me. Go ahead, Coop.
It's so funny. Yeah, I didn't expect the Lakers to sweep the series, but people always like to talk about referees and all this type of stuff factor in. It has nothing to do with that. Rockets were not going to get swept. They wanted that last game. They just played harder and they ended up winning the game and they played better and the Lakers didn't match that energy or whatever the case you want to say.
Should have beat us
Has
the
nothing
one
to do
before.
it has nothing to do with situation or refs or nothing like that. Some teams just play better and harder on some nights and others don't. So I do expect the Lakers though to win this series, but I will say if it actually goes to Game 7, which means they would have lost 3 straight games, I would not expect them to win
Okay.
Game 7 because all the momentum will be with Houston. So the Lakers do have to close it out in either Game 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think what I'm curious to see is that Reeves is a game time decision for tomorrow. And if I were the Lakers, I
Yep.
would hope that they could sit him and not
Yep.
have him play tomorrow, win this
Hmm.
series, and get both him and Luka, who's supposed to be ready around the third or fourth, which is next week, right around the beginning of the first round. So if they could get through this game, now if they don't
Yep.
win tomorrow, they're going to have to bring Reeves and everybody else
Yeah.
out the closet real quick and get this taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah. To your point, though, at least it gives Reeves couple more days, regardless of. So even if
Yeah,
they were
but
to
what they
lose, but
don't
you'd
want
rather
is them
win
to
it.
get. If you don't want Houston to get Durant back, and he's supposed to come back on the first. Like this is the
Yeah.
opportunity to get this and put this to bed before Durant comes back.
Yeah. Pretty deep. Nuggets, Timberwolves. Minnesota leads the series 3-2.
Timberwolves have to win Game 6 at home. If they don't, I think they're losing. I know I picked them to win the series, but they have to win this
Yeah. You
game.
got to close it out when you got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure if Anthony Edwards is hurt or not, but
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
I
out.
mean they got to win this game. Okay, so Nuggets have to, Timberwolves have to win this game or else it's over. Nuggets win.
Yeah, what is he expected back? Not until the end of next week with his knee bruise.
Mm.
But yeah, look, I picked Denver because I thought that they were one of the hottest teams coming into the
That's right.
playoffs. What they had won a ton straight. But Gobert is putting on a clinic. I'm not a big Gobert fan
I
at
was gonna say,
all.
yeah, you were not.
Not at all. But he is putting on a clinic on defense. Guy couldn't score in a gym by himself, but you know, what he's doing to Jokic is pretty amazing to watch. And he's making Jokic a bush league and completely unprepared for the playoffs. And this is the you know
Yeah.
multi-time
Multi-MVP.
MVP, possibly MVP again, and he can't do anything with Gobert in the series. Not one game, not one play, not even a half or a quarter. Like he has been locked up.
Definitely. And then last on the West, Spurs and Trailblazers. Spurs win that series 4-1.
Yeah, that was what we
We expected.
expected.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trailblazers. They got the participation award. They were just happy to be there.
Yeah, they won a game. They didn't get swept, so they did that. Cool. So that's pretty much the show. Let's get our last few segments, and then we up out of here, man. Let's start with Hogwash this week. Segment that we made a weekly segment after Brian said something was complete hogwash. We all laughed, and I was like, yeah, we got to make this a weekly thing, so we do it. Brian, what you got this week that's hogwash?
I guess I'll go back to what I was talking about earlier with what happened between Dallas and Pittsburgh. I mean, that's a lot of hogwash right there. Uh, but there's no love lost between teams during draft. And so I don't know why you were even talking to your old people, but it cost them in a major way. So.
Definitely. Cool. You got anything that's hogwash in the world of sports?
Yeah, the University of Colorado and University of North Carolina, headed by Deion Sanders and Bill Belichick. They both did not have one player drafted in this draft. A bunch of
Mm.
names, bunch of hype, bunch of nothing. Um, they don't. They got resources. They have money, a little bit of money like other schools, but both of them refuse to go to players' homes and recruit and all that type of stuff. They just want to sit home and think everybody's just going to come to them, and it hasn't happened. It's actually kind of sad with this NIL world that we're living in that they
Yeah.
can't get one player drafted in the NFL. So all that hype for nothing.
Got to pay him. I don't got one. Game ball, Coop. This was your segment. You gave a game ball out, and then we made that a weekly segment. We always think about it as excellence in the field of sports. What do you got this week?
And I'm gonna give it to two rivals of the 49ers. I'm gonna give it to Kansas City and I'm gonna give it to the Rams for well actually I'll give it more to Kansas City, but the Rams will be second. And that's for getting players that'll help them try to win the championship because that's what it's all about. It's not about getting good draft grades, it's about wins during the regular season and trying to get in the playoffs and win the championship. And the moves that these teams made, except for the Ty Simpson, but the moves that they made, uh, they're gonna be back in there. I mean, it's always a team 4 teams or so that didn't make the playoffs the previous year that will make it. I pretty much can guarantee Kansas City will be in there. They got a hell of a player at corner. The Rams just got more reinforcements, so these are going to be 2 teams in both conferences that everybody's going to have to deal with.
Fair. B.
Let's switch it up. Nelly Corda gets my game ball, who went wire to wire to win her third major and reclaim the #1 spot all in 1 week. Pretty darn impressive by any stretch. Super impressive when you realize that there's a lot of competition in the LPGA right now, and she rose to the occasion and did all the things all at one point in time. It is really, really hard to go from 2 to 1 in golf because of the way the rankings. I mean, it takes people years. I mean, Tiger Woods hadn't played for a whole, wasn't in a tournament for a whole year and was still world #1. That's how hard it is to get to world #1. Now, Rory also had it for one time, and Scotty has it now, but it's the same scoring system in the LPGA, and so claiming #1 is big. Winning a major is huge, especially your third, and going wire to wire in any golf tournament is darn near impossible. So she did it all in 1 weekend. Game ball to her.
Respect it. Man, I'm passing again. A minute to win it. Just appreciate everybody for checking us out. Thanks for listening on whatever platform you do, and enjoy your week. And then also we're going to get back to every 2 weeks until football season starts. Coop.
Yeah, my thing is just don't pay attention to your team's draft grades, whatever they were. I don't know what they were, and I do not care. What I do remember is, as a person who supports the 49ers got A's in the draft where they got Trey Lance. That was an A draft. I remember everybody saying it, and Trey Lance can't play worth a lick. And I remember another draft when Jim Harbaugh was the coach, and they drafted LaMichael James from Oregon and all these other players, and they gave all I heard during the draft was, oh, the 49ers just killing the draft. Those players were off the team within 4 years. Okay, so I don't want to hear nothing about draft grades. Let's just see how they play when they roll the ball out in September.
There. B.
Yeah, well, some weird things have happened since we last spoke. Obviously, there was what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which was absolute lunacy. It was made for Hollywood. Oddly enough, it's impacting Hollywood because today Trump's legal pit bulls are going after ABC and saying that they need to file their licenses or else they could lose their ability to broadcast. Now, this is all posturing. Nothing's actually going to happen, but this is all them trying to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel, because yesterday Jimmy Kimmel, in his opening monologue, talked a bunch about the speculation that this was not exactly the least scripted event that's ever happened, but specifically he mentioned that Melania Trump looked like an expectant widow, and that got Trump's goose a little bit.
Man, wild times. Wild times. That's it's April 28th, 2026. That's our show. We will catch y'all next time. Thanks for checking us out on Sports Counterpoints.